Alright, that was a total mindfuck. I went on like some tangent about cybersecurity and then I forgot what the hell I was talking about. So we're gonna try that again. This is a video about people that use. So this is kind of a follow up to my people that use Windows 7 need to switch to Linux. I know that's gonna sound fucking obvious, but I'm gonna try to explain it a bit better. Basically, if you're using an antiquated operating system, you need to get security updates. That's just the fucking world we live in. Oh, I think I remember what I was talking about. I think I was talking about. Yeah, I remember now. Holy shit. Okay, it's all coming back to me. I don't want to have to repeat that whole fucking rant. That's gonna suck. Anyways, I'll try. So basically, if you're running, oh god, I gotta remember everything that I just explained. Holy shit. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. So, if you're running an older operating system, chances are you probably can't run a newer operating system, and this is a common complaint with Windows 11, is that a billion computers don't support it. And the reason why is it uses this bullshit called TPM2, which is basically used for fingerprint scanners because that technology is used to run the fingerprint scanner. That's basically the only reason they're doing that, because Microsoft has this fucking idea that everybody runs a laptop now instead of a desktop, which is why a lot of desktop motherboards didn't ship with TPM2, even as Windows 11 was coming out, because what the fuck did you need it for? It's for a fingerprint scanner. And this is where I went on that tangent. So I'm going to try to go back through it, and I'm going to make a point that I need to go back to free software somewhere after this, but I'm going to re-explain everything. So basically, the reason why Canonical and Microsoft are pushing for TPM2 is because they want passwordless sign-in. That's basically the reasoning for it. And passwordless sign-in is something that I've been looking at for a while because I think it's a good idea. I think passwords are kind of antiquated in that, hell, back in 2015, I think if you had a rack of 25 R9 290s, you could crack every standard Windows password in like 6 hours, and that shit's, 25 R9s is like the equivalent of like 14090 now. It's insane. So, like, if you have that much fucking compute power, what the fuck are you gonna do with the password? And so not only can the Windows passwords be cracked really easily, as well as pins, because pins don't have a limit on, like, they don't rate limit you on how many times you can enter a pin, which has been a big security hole in that you can just enter every single pin known to man and then see which one cracks it. So that's fucking stupid. But basically, when you're using, especially when we get into the internet, is your password really doesn't matter anymore, and that's because somebody has a 0-day and they can run a scraper on any website using a browser exploit, and they can pull a list of all your passwords. Even if they're hashed, they can just fucking unhash them, and what happens is you use Google or Mozilla or something, and they say, "Hey, your password was leaked in a data breach." And what they do is they go into like a dark web website, and they pull up, they buy a list of all your passwords, or of just every password that got hacked, and then is why I always say, run some sort of two-factor authentication with a second client. Because what'll happen is somebody's going to run your password and just see if it logs in, and they're going to add that to a list, and they're going to run that list through BBC or something. And what BBC does is it takes a website. Let's say I wanted to test 1 million passwords against Steam, known passwords, and I just wanted to see if it was the same password for your Amazon as your Steam account. I can run the script, and it'll try every one of those 100,000 passwords or whatever, and it'll turn my list into like 1 million passwords, because it'll confirm every one of those and add it to the file. And so I don't really see the point in passwords anymore. We really need to have like some sort of passwordless sign-in system. I've seen some websites going for it, but it's not super mainstream yet. They still want you to have a password for everything, and it's fucking stupid. Because like when you have two-factor authentication with a separate client, your only really option is to either SIM swap or somehow get into my other device. Because like if I put a keylogger on your system and you've got like you're typing in your password and I can log, I can log all that. Well, what's also happening is if you send a two-factor authentication to your phone, I have to like SIM swap you, and that's just way too much fucking effort. But if you have anything with your credit card stored on it, having no two-factor authentication is a fucking death sentence. Because if anybody can get in your account, they can buy whatever they want with your credit card. That's how that happens. I've seen way too many people get pwned because like they didn't set up two-factor authentication with accounts that had their credit card info on it. And this is especially bad if you're like really into online shopping, because a lot of those websites aren't super secure, But anyways, back to free software. So, if you're running a computer, I don't want to say, this is kind of what I'm advising against, is running hacky workarounds to continue using proprietary software. That isn't what you should be doing. And that's just, that should be common sense. Like, if you have to fuck around with your system in order to get it to work properly on your hardware, that's not software you should be using. And I don't know why people, like, it's like with Windows 7, people would run all these fucking patches to support newer hardware like Ryzen CPUs or new SSDs or something, and it's like, stop, just fucking run Linux. You don't need this bullshit anymore. This is what you get for running proprietary software. So anyways, when you're running an older computer, and for some reason you still need to run it, but you also need to use it as your daily driver. I don't know why you can't just buy a new computer, but that's just the case, But let's say you actually need to like run a new computer and like Windows 10 isn't an option, or Windows 11 isn't an option, or when Windows 12 comes out, that isn't an option. What's going to happen is eventually you're going to have to stop being a fucking Luddite and using 20-year-old software, because like it's going to get to the point where just like nothing will work anymore. Websites will stop working, your browser will stop updating. And this is where like Thorium and Firefox still kind of supports it, but Firefox doesn't even support Yosemite on macOS anymore. So how the fuck long is that going to last? That's way newer than Windows 7. But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that as software becomes more complex and it becomes more bloated, you can't run it on this older hardware. You're going to eventually have to go out and buy a new computer. That dual core Celeron and 4 gigs of RAM ain't going to cut it anymore. You know what I mean? Now there is an option though. If you still want to use that hardware, if you say my computer's fucking fine, I can web browse on it all I want, I just need the updates. Well, guess what? We have that in free software. You should be using free software for this. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's pretty easy to learn. If like all you want to do is fucking want to run a web browser and a file manager, like most people do, honestly. Like, it's gonna get to the point too where like the software you run doesn't support Windows 7 anymore. You're gonna be running all this antiquated software. Like, you need to get on a like minimalist Linux distro. And I don't mean like super minimalist, like you're running fucking DWM and a terminal client for everything, but software without a lot of feature creep, without a lot of bloat, that's optimized for your hardware. And I keep telling people, or like he mentioning it at least, is that, hey, if you have this older computer, we got options for you. They're free, and unlike Windows, they will be indefinitely supported because all the software is maintained by different people. So as long as there is somebody willing to maintain 32-bit libraries, you can use NTX or you can use whatever distribution on your hardware and you'll be fine. And honestly, if you're on 32-bit hardware, there's going to come a point where you need to switch to a 64-bit computer. I mean, that shit's... oh my god. Like, I'm kind of counting down the days until 32-bit support on Linux is completely, like, just like a niche, Like, it's not well supported at all. And, like, too many things break if you try to run 32-bit architectures, But whatever, that's for a different time. And what's gonna happen though is eventually you'll have to either upgrade or you'll have to switch operating systems. That's just kind of the way it's gonna go. And I think that I think that on the way down, you're better off learning now instead of waiting for everything to stop working and then you're left high and dry. You're like, oh man, if only I had fucking taken this time to switch over my operating system, I'd be a lot better off right now. But, there's really no saving these people, honestly, if they want to keep using Windows 7. But that's really all I wanted to say on that. There wasn't really a whole lot to say. It only took about 10 minutes to say it, along with all the other shit I said, but this is my follow-up video to the Windows 7 thing, is that if you're running older hardware, it's really time for you to start thinking of switching operating systems, because this proprietary stuff ain't gonna do it for you anymore. And you're starting to realize why free software is so important, is because they will support your hardware as long as possible, whereas Microsoft has no obligation because their software is proprietary, and that kind of leaves you with two options: either upgrade or die. That's really about it. Thanks.